The one thing when dealing with a buyer, I don't want you to say anything else except free list. Say it 1,000 times. Now understand that when you're talking with them on the phone, you're a salesperson. The purpose of the ad was to get them to call you. You now have their name, address, phone number. But you're a salesperson. They're reluctant to give you information, and they're reluctant to meet with you because you're the salesperson.
And then what happens when you meet a salesperson?
Yeah, it's awful. They'd rather die. So we need to just forget about everything, keep it real simple, and remember, free list, free list, free list, free list, because that's what they're going to want. Watch how great this works. Regarding buyer profiling, you want to integrate this into your subconscious mind until you can say it frontwards, backwards, and sideways. At our office, we have a unique computerized buyer profiling system, whereby if we know what town, price range, and style of home you're looking for, we can print out all the homes that currently match your criteria. Would that interest you? We agreed that buyers in the early process are just looking at properties. Even if they have a home to sell, they want to know information. So if they want information and you're going to one-up it, not only are you going to give them the information on the house that they called on, but you're going to give them all the other homes that they don't know about.
I would say our buyer profiling system, we have the access to hot new listings before sometimes even other agents in the area know about them. And the problem with all these internet services, first of all, it's antiquated. Usually it takes, the information's very old. Yeah. A lot of the houses that are on these internet sites are actually sold.
Exactly, except people don't always know that.
Secondly, they don't really, they don't give you a lot of information. Like if you go on to Realtor.com, you have to call a real estate agent to get the specifics, like the location of the house. Mm-hmm. So it's not intended to give them all the information, but give them some information, and thereby get the prospect to still call a real estate agent.
Okay,
so it's no better than the newspaper.
That's a good point that Mike says. Their perception is that they're already getting it.
Yeah, the perception
so whatever perception they're giving you in communicating with this dialogue over the phone, the only conversation that's allowed at this point is to improve their perception that whatever they're getting is not as good as what you have to offer.
Exactly. Can I say one? They may say, when you say to the buyer may say to you, well, maybe I'm not getting all the new listings, but I'm getting the majority, probably 80-90%, which is good enough. Yeah. I'd rather get 80 to 90% of listings on the website that I'm accessing than have to come into the office and deal with the salesperson. So here's what you need to say. You need to build value in on those 10% that they're not getting information on, those hot new listings, and here's how you do it. I would say, Harold, wouldn't you agree that the best properties are the ones that sell quickly?
That's
the best price properties.
That really works.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you want access to, the hottest, best properties that go on the market today and tomorrow are not even going to make it onto these realtor websites.
A lot of times they don't even get loaded into.
Don't even make it onto MLS. Our buyer profiling system, our home hunter system, is going to give you access to all the hottest, best price listings before anybody else gets that information, which is going to allow you the opportunity to beat out other buyers to the best ones.
We agree that free list has some value, but sometimes it's not enough value to get them to bite the hook. Sometimes it's not enough value to get the husband and the wife in the car and drive across town to meet with you. So let's expound on this free list. And this is all you need to learn when you're talking with a buyer. First of all, the big one, say this. There's no cost and no obligation. It's free. It's free, Mr. Buyer, free. Doesn't cost you anything. We find that if you're going to be buying a home, making one of the biggest investments of your life, it makes sense to have all of them while we're getting them on the trip. So I focus on this. This is one. Another one is it highlights, or we can highlight, it highlights, or we can highlight, it highlights, emphasis on highlights, distressed sales, bank foreclosures, and corporate-owned homes as well.
Communicating there is we have information, and that's not readily available. It's not easy to get, but we're going to make it easy for you to get. And what's the distress sale hot button hit? What hot button are you hitting with distress sales?
You get a deal.
Absolutely.
How about bank foreclosures?
We got them.
Corporate-owned homes. Now, here's what I have a couple of experienced agents, and they say, Bry, That's not true. There are no bank foreclosures in our market. You're absolutely right. There are none for sale in our market. But here's my question to my agents. If there was a bank foreclosure in our market, would it be listed in the multiple listing service? Yes. If it was listed in the multiple listing service and it had the same criteria of what Mr. Proctor, our buyer, was looking for, would it print out in the buyer profile? Yes. So if a bank foreclosure, corporate-owned home or distress sale was on the market that matches their criteria, would we not give it to them?
Yes.
So why don't we tell them about it? When we get, this is part of language one, perception. It hits their hot buttons. When they come in, I would say, Craig, you know, we mentioned that, because maybe it comes up again, we're really interested in bank foreclosure, the distress sales. Well, let me explain to you. You're going to give us our criteria, we're going to plug it in. If any of your criteria matches any of these categories, we're going to provide them to you. But I'll be honest with you, right now there's not a lot of bank foreclosures on the market. And they say, okay. And maybe, I don't know if you have a formula, but what we have is a real conservative formula for our buyers agents in our office. I say that in our market, if we generate 10 leads from any one of the previous ways that leads come in, ad calls, free report calls, sign calls, whatever it is, of the 10, we say 4 will result in an appointment. This is really conservative, really conservative. In fact, I don't have enough hours in the day anymore like Craig, but if I was doing this routine every single day, I bet you I would probably get 6 or 8 out of 10 to come in and meet with me. So that, but to give you some conservative numbers, 4 will come into an appointment. 2 will become a client. Again, this is conservative. We've already heard from 2 people here that when they come in, it's practically 100%. It's a done deal. So if I had 4 people come in, I'd have 4 clients. You probably will too, but I want to give you some conservative numbers. And of the 2, 1 will buy, but yet ABR says that if you have 2 clients, you'll have 2 sales. I just want to be really conservative in my planning. And all of our numbers, we've far exceeded this. But here's where you can do a really great job. It's right here where you need to put the emphasis on what we're doing right now, is getting the call to an appointment. And people, my agents will say, well, what happens to the 6 that we didn't get? Well, number one, I really don't care because I'm not spending any time with them, but where are they? They're either working with another agent, they're obligated to work with another agent, they've got a friend or relative in the business, they're so early in the process that truthfully, they just aren't interested in what we have to offer because it's so early, or they're jerks. Now, am I the only one that has jerks in my marketplace, or do you guys too?
We get a few of them.
So we build those into the 6 that don't come with us. If a buyer's willing to come in and meet with you, doesn't that tell you something? They're probably more motivated than somebody else that isn't. So don't be discouraged if somebody isn't and they fall into the 6th category, because you're only interested in the ones that you can change the outcome of.
You saved a lot of time and money.
You saved a whole lot of time and money. But, you know, what we didn't put, and if we're going to do a be honest, even at my office, when we've been doing this for a long time, part of those 6 is because we're not good at conveying this message to them. So they say they see no value in us, and that's a percentage of the 6 too. So
do you hear that too in your office, where your buyer agents will say,
well,
those leads were no good?
They'll do this. They'll say, you know, we'll give you the free list, but they won't do this or this. They won't fight. I'll fight for the appointment, because if I get the appointment and they come in and meet with me, they're great. Yeah, they're great. So what we do, and what I did to try to create a system and make it easier for new agents that come in, is just, because we're on the phone and the buyer doesn't see us yet, we don't have technology where they're watching us, we can read this script right over the phone. And I'll tell you what my agents do at my office. At their desk, in their cars, and at home, they have these by their telephones. They've reduced them to keep them on track. You know, when I was going to school, it was easier for me to pass a test if I could cheat next to the smartest kid in the class. But unless, you know, if I didn't get caught, I'd get an A on the test. If I was worried about getting caught and I had to study, I wouldn't get an A, I'd end up getting a C. So if we've got something that works, don't rely on your memory. You can only absorb so much this morning. Cheat, read verbatim. And every single bullet point is in there for a reason. This is pretty bulletproof. This will work if you follow it from A to Z every single time. So let's do that. Let me get a sip of water. And who wants to be a buyer? We're just going to do this a few times.
Harold's
Who,
All right, I'll be a buyer.
all right, Harold will be the buyer. Now, remember, it doesn't matter why Harold called me. If it was the free report and I'm calling him back, or he's looking for information on a sign call or whatever, it really doesn't matter. The free reports come into an 800 hotline. We call them back and we just modify this script a little bit. Let's pretend that you're an ad call, Harold, or a sign call, which typically are the ready-to-act buyers. They're closer than the free report buyers. They're closer in their stage. So let's pretend that you're an ad or sign call, and then what we'll do is we'll modify it for a free report, which is the same just. But I'm going to read right off the sheet, and Harold calls in, and to set the stage, I know nothing about Harold. I just know that he wants to know the price of a particular property. So I answer the phone. Hi, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian. Harold Johnson here. I wonder if you could tell me the price at 123 St. James Street.
123 St. James Street. What town is that in, Harold?
That's in Richmond Hill.
Okay, great. Are you working with a realtor?
No, I'm not. No, I just want to know the price and know if it's in my range.
Okay, are you interested in looking at that home or other homes as well?
Well, I'd really like to see that home.
Okay.
I'm outside it right now. I'm on myself.
Okay. Okay, the reason I ask, Harold, is at our office we have a unique computerized buyer profile system, whereby if we know your areas of interest, your price range, your style, we can print out all of the homes that match your criteria. Is that something that would interest you?
Sure it is.
Okay,
It's like
great.
You're supposed to say, I just want to see that one.
Okay, well, you'll be next, Lindy, and you can be real tough. Let it be natural, but let it go natural. Don't, if it's, let me interject.
You haven't let me finish.
the reason that Harold said yes is because I compelled to his self-interest.
But I'm still going.
Okay, that's fine. And, let me say, Harold, I don't have that information on the property that you called on in front of me, but not only.
You don't know the price?
I don't. Off the top, we have many listings. I'd be happy to get you that information, but also I'd like to get you all the information on all the other homes that are on the market.
Okay, good. Can you call me back with the price?
Sure, what number can you be reached at?
416
Yeah?
706 9544.
Okay, super. Now, were you interested in other properties as well, or just that one?
Well, for the moment, that one. I'd like to know about other properties, but that one's of particular interest, and I just want to know the price.
Okay, and what price range are you looking?
What price range am I looking? I'm looking at 350,000. I just want to know what the price is.
All right.
Could you not look it up on your computer and just tell me now?
I'm not at my computer. I'll call you back in 5 minutes. Will you be at this number?
Sure.
All right, so I'm going to hang up. I'm going to regroup. I'm going to be in control of the call, and I'm going to call Harold back. So let me try to pick it up where we left off. Hi, Harold. It's Brian calling you back.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for calling back.
Sorry it took a little bit longer than I had hoped, but I have the information on that property. You said you were looking in the 350 range.
Yeah.
This property's a lot lower than that. It's only on the market for 205.
Oh, fantastic. Could I see it right now?
I don't know what the seller's instructions are to show that, but I imagine that they would like some notice. When would be a good time to give the seller some notice and accommodate your schedule?
Okay. Could I meet you at the property in 3 hours?
Harold, what I'd like to do is I'd really want to do a good job for you, and you mentioned earlier that you were interested in the other homes as well.
Uh-huh.
So what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is show you that home, but also let you know of all of the other homes that are on the market that match your criteria.
Great. That one's priced so low, I'd like to see it before it's gone.
Okay.
Could I get in there this afternoon?
I'm booked solid this afternoon. How's tomorrow?
It might be gone by then. Do you have anyone that could get me in?
It's listed with our office, and I think that if another offer came, it was still available, and there were no offers pending. If there was an offer, I'd be the first to know about it. Okay. So does tomorrow work for you?
All right, tomorrow.
Mornings or afternoons?
Morning would be better, say about 10:30.
10:30? Okay. And do you know where our office is located?
Where your office is located?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
We're on Main Street in Nashua. Are you familiar with Main Street?
Yeah, I know where you are.
We're right across from Martha's Restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll see you at our office tomorrow at 10:30.
Oh, we're not going to meet at the house?
Well, what I thought we'd do is meet at the office, and then I'd show you what else is on the market and kill two birds with one stone. If there was any other properties that you wanted to look at, we could probably look at 2 or 3 at the same time.
Okay.
Would that work for you?
Sure, that sounds fair.
All right, so that I can prepare for our appointment tomorrow, Harold, I look forward to seeing you at 10:30. Let me ask you, about how much cash available do you have for down payment and closing costs?
About 105,000,
Okay, so you're putting quite a lot down then.
yes.
Good for you, great. Are you renting or do you own now?
I own.
You own, okay, super. Whereabouts do you live?
I live on Bingham Street.
Oh, sure, I know the area well. How's your credit, Harold? Any credit issues that would concern you?
No.
Okay, great. And how soon are you hoping to move?
I was thinking in 3 or 4 months,
3 or 4 months, okay.
but that'd give the other people enough time to find something if they need time to move.
Okay, all right, super. Have you spoken with anyone regarding financing yet?
No, I haven't.
Would you like us to help you with that?
I don't think I need help. I think I'm okay. I mean, I've got a mortgage, I'll just port it over.
Okay, sure. Well, the reason I ask is we work with a couple of lenders that offer lower closing costs and better rates.
Oh, we can discuss that, I guess.
Okay, so maybe just give you some more options. How long have you been looking for a property, Harold?
Just the past week.
Okay, great. All right, so I'll see you tomorrow in my office at 10:30.
Okay, anything I need to bring?
Just yourself.
All right.
Are you looking with your wife, or
Yes.
will she be with you?
Yes, she will.
Great, super. We'll look, and her name is
Janie.
Janie. So I look forward to seeing you both tomorrow at 10:30 at my office.
Okay, good.
Let's talk about the psychology behind that. I ask no qualifying questions until I have a commitment from the buyer to meet with me. None.
Why would you wanna do that?
Because all the
Maybe
other
you don't want this buyer, or maybe you don't wanna meet with
because all the other realtors are doing it the other way. Remember, we're talking about what's in it for me, meaning the consumer, Lindy. So if Harold calls and I start qualifying him like I used to, how's your credit? Because I want to be short and to the point, and I'm interested in me, Brian. That's not going to
But
work.
now you could be stuck with an appointment you don't want.
Well, based on what Harold told me, I want that appointment.
But you set up the appointment before you asked those questions.
Right, so if Harold said, we've got no money, we've got no credit, we've got no
Now
job,
taking
I'll
us
send
out
you
of
to
your
one of my
appointment.
financial
on the
people.
on the bottom of the page, there's a dialogue to cancel the appointment.
Oh.
Harold's objection is no different than the ones that I get. I'm outside the property right now. I hear that one, so I blame the seller. I don't know what the seller's showing instructions are, but I'm sure they want some notice. Would that be true in your market?
Yes.
So I don't wanna say, I can't show you because I've never met you, I can't show you because I don't know if you're qualified.
I can't show you because based on my experience, 90% of the
You-
time that I
you're
show
gonna buy it,
buyers,
not gonna
you're
buy.
wasting my time, you're never gonna buy that house. You don't get into any of that, you blame the seller.
We also list properties far afield from our office.
Mhm.
And often we'll get phone calls from people wanting to look at a house that we have listed in Thornhill. We have an office in Newmarket, obviously. And a lot of them don't feel compelled when they wanna see a house that's 30 miles
That's
away.
your perception though, let me interrupt for 1 second. How far do buyers, will they drive on average to get to your office?
This is a good point. And we're in New Hampshire, which is very rural. In fact, I was talking with somebody earlier, we don't have any tract housing. If we want to show 3 properties, it's going to take an hour to show 3 properties because it's a 20-minute ride from one to one. Nashwa's down here, we've got Manchester over here and Londonderry over here, and a bunch of other towns in between, but we cover a large market, and a buyer may be looking in all of these markets. So we've got to go from Nashua to Manchester to Londonderry back to So we have the same situation. But I've made the decision that I don't want to work with every buyer. You don't want to work with every buyer. The only buyers I want to work with are the buyers that are motivated. And they tell me they're motivated by being willing to come to my office. So I'm not attached to the ones that, if the call, and maybe when I do Lindy, we'll do Lindy next, she can be tough. Because you'll see that if I can't convert you to an appointment, I don't care.
Brian, I know at your office, it's almost like a doctor's office where there's a waiting area and they come into.
Yeah, we just working so well that we had one conference room and we have 6 buyer's agents. And buyers are coming in every single day of the week to hear buyer presentations. They don't know that's why they're coming in. They're coming in for the free list of homes. But in order to get the free list, in fact, we didn't cover this yet, I'm sure it'll come up. Why can't you just mail it to me? We hear that all the time. Yeah, we want what you're offering, but we don't have the time to come in. So you got to have a good dialogue to lead them to their own conclusion that mailing them is not the best. And while we're on the subject, I would say, Lindy, I'd be happy to mail them to you, but what I've found is that if I mail you a couple of hundred listings that may or may not match what you're looking for, I'm not doing a good job for you. And to do a good job for you, I find that it's helpful if we could sit down for 10 or 15 minutes and go over what you like and don't like in a home so that I can provide you with a more narrow and accurate list. So when could you squeeze me in for 15 minutes? So Jim's calling it. You know what? Let's do Jim. I'm calling Jim back. He called in on a free report.
Okay.
So we'll just take what we just did and we'll put a spin on it, but now I'm calling Jim back. Hi Jim, it's Brian Moses from Caldwell Banker Realty. I saw that you had called in for a free report, how to stop paying rent and own your own home. And I just wanted to let you know we dropped that report in the mail this morning to you.
Oh, good, thanks, appreciate it.
Great. So you should get that in a couple of days. Let me ask you, are you working with a realtor, Jim?
Not really, no.
Okay. Have you circled or seen any other homes or properties that were of interest to you?
Well, we just really started, we're not sure if we can actually buy a house right now, but,
Okay.
you know, we do look at the paper all the time, sure.
The reason I ask is at our office we have a computerized buyer profile system, and if we know what areas interest you, what price range, what styles are important to you in a home, we can plug that into this computer system and it'll print out on an ongoing basis all the homes that match your selection. Is that something that would interest you?
I don't know, like I said, we just started to look. I'm not sure if we can afford a house.
Okay. When you say that you're not sure that you can afford a house, may I ask why? Why do you think that?
We've just never bought a house before.
Okay. Well, what we can do at that time when we get together is we can talk about financing. It sounds like you haven't spoken with anyone. We've got some access to some super low down payment financing options. Is that something that might interest you?
Yeah, it might. You know, we've been dealing with the same bank all the time.
Okay.
You know, my family's been dealing with the same bank. We like the bank.
Okay, good. Some of the lenders they're a little bit more competitive than banks because banks are in the banking industry and we deal with some mortgage companies that
I
specialize.
saw this household down the street. What's it going for right now?
I have no idea. What house is that?
It's. I think it's on James Street. I think it's 123 James Street. And
Well-
we drove by that one. It's kind of nice. Can you tell us about it?
I don't have the information in front of me, Jim. What I'll do is I'll pull it up on the computer. When would be a good time to get together? I'll give you all the information on that home. We can talk about financing and at the same time let you know what else is on the market in your price range.
I kind of like to know what that house is going for because you know, my wife and I, we said if that ever house comes up on the market, we'd like to buy that house.
Mm-hmm.
And there's really, like I said, we're just starting to look, and there's not much point of coming in if we don't know how much that house is, and we don't sure if we can afford it.
Right.
You know,
So-
can you tell us how much that house is?
Yeah, let me get the information and get back to you. But what I'm hearing you say is that you don't know if you can afford it. So you may need some help with that. And, you know, I'd like to help you with it. And at the same time, not limit you to just one home. Is that the area that you're really kind of interested in?
Well, not particularly.
Well,
but
let me
we've
ask you
seen
this,
that
Jim.
house.
Would you be interested in all the other homes that are equal to or superior to that home for less money?
Oh, sure, everybody wants a good deal, sure.
So why don't we get together so that I can print out all the homes that match your criteria and you're not limited to just one home? What's good for you,
Well-
days or nights?
I kind of like my wife to be there, and like I'm working nights and she's working days, and
Yeah.
it's kind of tough, you know, because you know she wants to be involved.
How about weekends?
Can you come over to our place?
Sure.
Yeah.
Would that work better for you?
Can we see that house when you come over?
Well, I think that what I'd like to show you the house, Jim. It sounds like you've got some interest in it, but what concerns me is that you haven't done anything on the financing end. And assuming that the house meets your expectations or exceeds your expectations, you're probably going to want to take the next step and get into the process of purchasing or acquiring that
So
house.
if you come over then and we go through all this, then we can go and see that.
But
house.
see, I'm not the lender, Jim, and I think, you know, buying a home is a process. It's not an event. And that home may still be available next week. It may not be available next week. To do the best job for you, I want to do two things, and you tell me if this makes sense. I want to provide you with as many homes to choose from as possible, but more importantly, I want to help you with your financing as well, which sounds like it's an issue for you. And when you find a home, I want to make sure that you've got that financing in place. So you know, I know that you've got busy schedules. I can come to your place if that works for you. And we
So
can,
you don't know how many bedrooms this house has?
Jim, I have no idea.
Okay.
Is that really important to you?
Yeah, we got 4 kids.
Let me ask you a question. If I call you back with that information, and let's say the house is $120,000, you told me earlier that you don't know whether or not you can afford that. So aren't we putting the cart before the horse? Wouldn't it make sense to talk about financing and talk about the process so I can put you in the best position to buy a home?
I've been giving you a hard time because there's a lot of people that call up and you don't really want to deal with them. I just want to hear how far you're
Okay.
going to go.
I'm about at
you're
my
about
wit's
to get
end.
chopped. Because if you got no money and you got no motivation,
Right.
there ain't a hell of a lot of sense in
But
talking.
notice I didn't deviate. That was
He didn't throw you off though.
my focus is the appointment.
No,
It's
I
not-
liked his body language too, because there's a
Oh,
lot
it's
of them that like
exactly
that.
how these calls
And-
are.
and
sometimes.
they're- he was
exactly.
purposely almost not interested,
Yeah.
but
That's the way
interested
they are.
enough that I would keep talking.
Keep the call going.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know-
he was perfect, like there's like zero energy. He's laid back, he's answering your questions with one-worders.
Watching the TV.
So now you would have had an appointment, let's say it went to that.
Oh God!
You- so you
And I
got
would
an
have. I
appointment.
probably would have canceled it.
Yeah,
I mean,
because you don't know if he can even
But
finance
the good
it.
news is it's a process, and what I found that works best for me. You see, I didn't ask him any real personal questions, and he was still kind of not interested. If I start turning up the heat on him, how much cash do you have? How's your credit?
Oh, you would have backed off right
He
away.
would have backed off. I would have had no opportunity.
Question. Okay, now, obviously, he sounds like he's not that motivated, but maybe he is, maybe that's just his nature, right?
Yeah.
If he comes in, if
I'm
he
trying
shows up
not
at
to
the
judge a
office.
book by the cover.
Right, if he shows up at the office, he's jumped through a huge hoop, right?
Right.
By virtue of the fact that he showed up.
He's
Now,
coming.
before he shows up though, I mean, if he shows up, the downside is you could spend an hour, or one of your buyer agents could spend an hour with someone that's never gonna qualify. Before he shows up, do you have your lender call him?
No.
So now what?
No. What I would have
You're
done is
stuck
got
with
the, I would have got the appointment, and then I would have said, so that I can prepare for our appointment, Jim, let me ask you, how much cash do you have? Go to my buyer qualifying.
So that's done upfront before the presentation.
Right. Right after I get the appointment, I'm
Okay,
qualifying.
now let's say he doesn't qualify, you go through, it's obvious he can't.
So I cancel. I say, Jim, it sounds like you may have some issues that could get in the way of owning a property right now. Can I make a suggestion? And Jim would say, yeah. Why don't you call my lender and see if they've got a financing program that they can, customize or curtail to get you into a home. Jim will call my lender, Bill, and Bill will say, you couldn't qualify for a loan in a candy store with a gun. And then I'm not, the lender's breaking the news. But the only time I will give them to the lender is if they're really not a good prospect. Because I think that the majority of the time, if they've got money,
Won't like you for too long.
they've got a job. No, the lender's real good.
The lender's gonna
5
get them
minutes.
all eventually, but you're
Yeah.
talking about.
The lender, because the lender's goal is different than my goal. The lender's going to take Jim and say, you know what, Jim, let me put you on a track to own a home. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And then when you do these things, right, you come back to me and Brian. You notice when we did Harold, he said that he had a house to sell. I didn't switch ships. I didn't jump to, and I want to point that out because maybe we didn't catch it, but I think as real estate agents, sometimes we have a tendency to think ahead and think, well, they need to sell their house before they can buy. Let me go down that
We're
road
conditioned to naturally be attracted to the listing side, so.
because it's
we
easier.
switch gears and start focusing on the listing.
When you get face to face, then you can explain the reality of the situation. And if they are a seller, you may want to switch the appointment from your office to their home so that you can do that transition and see their house. Hey, I'm here. Let me have a look-see, and we'll
That's
give
very
you.
smart, I like that.
We'll give you a free market evaluation, but I wouldn't switch ships early on because they're early in the process. They're thinking perception that they need to find a house before they even think about selling. So if we interrupt that thinking, we're going to alienate the opportunity.
Right.
Does that make sense? So don't switch gears if you find out they have a house to sell. Maybe the only thing I would suggest is switch the appointment to their house. So I just got paged and I'm calling Lindy back. And hi, Lindy, it's Brian from RE/MAX. I understand that you were looking at a property. What can I tell you about that property?
Well, I just want to know where it is. Do you have the
Oh.
address?
At presently, I don't have that information with me. I'm not at the office. I'm calling you back from my cell phone. However, are you working with an agent?
No, we're not.
Okay. Have you circled or seen any other homes that are also of interest to you, Lindy?
Well, yeah, I have a bunch of MLS numbers. Is there any way I can give you these numbers and you can check on these properties?
Actually, that would be great. Then I can not only give you the information on the house that you called on, but all the properties as well. In fact, I can do one better. At our office, we have a computer buyer profile system where if we know what town and areas and style and price range are of interest to you, we can print out all of the homes that match your criteria. Would that interest you?
That would be great. Can you just fax them to me tomorrow?
I could do that, Lindy, but rather than just fax you hundreds of listings that may or may not match what you're looking for and to do the best possible job for you, it's really helpful if you and I could get together and just spend 10 or 15 minutes so that I know what you like and don't like in a home and I can really narrow your search. And at the same time, you can determine if I'm even the type of agent you wish to work with.
Well, I'd really rather just get this information because I kind of know that these houses would match my criteria. I pulled them off MLS.ca
Okay?
based on my criteria. I just want the addresses and the full listings.
Yeah.
If you could fax that to me?
We can certainly do that, but again, you are interested in other homes that are on the market or properties that come on the market over the weekend or next week?
Well, you know, we're thinking of buying, but probably not for another 6 months. We're starting it now. You know,
Yeah.
we really like to go on the internet and find all this stuff. And
Okay. Our service is absolutely free, Lindy, and there's no obligation, and more importantly, there's no pressure to buy, so it kind of puts you in the driver's seat, and we'll continue to mail or fax or email you these listings, but I just don't want to risk a bad job for you, mailing you listings that you don't like, and then you think I'm not doing a good job.
what exactly did you say that service was?
It's a buyer profile system, and what we do is, of the properties that you've got, the MLS numbers, some of them are still available, some of them are not available. Some of them are in your match your criteria, some of them don't. So it's hit or miss. What our service does is you tell us what you're looking for, we plug that criteria into the computer and it prints out all the homes that match what you're looking for.
That sounds pretty similar to what 2 other agents offered me yesterday when I called on their ads.
To the best of my knowledge, it's a unique service. I'm not aware that anyone else is doing it, but we are offering it. It's free. I don't know if they're charging you anything for it.
No, it's free. We're already getting something like that from Joe Blow.
Okay. So are you getting them
Yeah, he
updated on a
sends me
regular?
these hot sheets. He calls us once a week to follow up on the
Yeah.
stuff. And is that sort of like what you're doing?
We're not going to call you. If you see anything that you want, then you call us to show them. So there's really no pressure. If you're getting them already and you feel that they cover the entire market, that's great. Stick with that. But ours will automatically update you as new ones come on the market. Now, Lindy, these lists that you're getting, are they highlighting any bank foreclosures, corporate-owned properties, or distress sales?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen any in my packages.
So their service is probably vastly different than ours. One of the great things about our program is, based on the criteria that you select, it will automatically, our service will automatically highlight bank foreclosures, distress sale, and corporate-owned homes. Would you be interested in getting those on a regular basis?
Well, if there's a deal to be had, sure, why not?
Why don't we do this? When's a good time to get together with you so that we can get your criteria in our system and provide you with these lists right away?
Can I fax you my criteria?
Again, so that I think that it's helpful if we could get together so that I know what you like and don't like in a home. I don't want to fax you the wrong information, and at the same time, you're going to decide whether or not you wish to work with me. Because what if I fax you all this information and you don't like me? So why don't we get together, you decide if you want to continue working with me, and we'll give you the list. And if you don't want to work with us, there's no hard feelings. There's no obligation for this service.
Sounds okay.
Okay, so when's a good time to get together?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Tomorrow afternoon it is, and then I'll qualify Lindy. I'll say, so that I can prepare for our appointment, do you know where our office is located? What time is good for you? Once we get through that, about how much cash have you put aside for down payment and closing costs, Lindy?
Well, I don't really, I haven't thought about that much because we're still about at least 6 to 8 months out from doing anything.
Okay. When you get there, looking ahead 6 to 8 months, are you looking to put a lot of money down or as little as possible?
Probably 10%.
So it's about 10%, great. And you
I
rent?
have a question, if I can interrupt. She's saying 6 to 8 months. Would you say to her if you were to see the perfect house for you?
Not yet.
Not yet? Okay.
Not yet. I wouldn't, because that's more internally driven. I want to ask the other simple questions,
Right, okay.
because maybe there's another question that she will eliminate herself, and I don't have to look like the
So
selfish
what are you thinking
real.
right now when she's saying 6 to 8 months?
I'm thinking that most buyers are thinking it's a process.
Right.
And I'm thinking that if I can get face-to-face with her, depending on how she answers these other questions,
Right.
I can probably at least cut that in half. Because once I counsel her,
Right.
and find out, when she comes in, I'm going to remember what she said, and I'm going to say, Lindy, thanks for coming in. This is kind of getting ahead to the appointment. And I'm going to say, you mentioned that you were looking 6 to 8 months. How did you arrive at that time frame?
Well, that's when my stock options come due.
Okay, so you need those. If there was a way to get you into a house for less money without utilizing those, would you be open to that?
Could be.
Okay, so I'm going to counsel her when we get face to face, but I'm not going to. Right now, I'm not judging anything until she's asked the fourth or fifth qualifying question.
Okay, sorry for interrupting. Let's go back then. She
Says 6 to 8 months.
She says 6 to 8 months.
And I say fine.
And you say fine. Okay, continue on.
Are you renting or do you own right now?
We're renting.
Okay, super. When does your lease expire?
Well, our lease expires in 3 months, and then we'll probably go on a month to month until the stock options come due.
Okay, so it sounds like you have already spoken with your landlord about that.
Well, no, but that's what we're gonna do.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, great. How's your credit? Is there anything that would concern you?
No.
Now, let me just interject. If she's got 10% or more down, I probably wouldn't ask that question. Although if you ask it, it's not going to cause any problems because they answer the question.
Right.
But if they've got 10% down, credit may not be as big an issue. And how soon were you hoping to move again?
Well, as I say, when the stock options come due, we're timing it for 6 to 8 months.
All right,
They
great.
don't come due for 6 months, and then there's a holdback for 30 days.
Have you actually looked at any properties? Have you been out shopping?
Yeah, we've looked with a few agents.
Did you see anything that you liked or that really excited you?
Well, we just wanted to get an idea of what the market was doing, what
Okay.
we can get for the price range, and whether we're shooting too high or too low with what we want.
Okay, good. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow at whatever time it was that we booked.
Okay.
So now Lindy's coming to my office. It's a process. So I want to spend about a half hour with Lindy and explain to her the benefits of our team, of all of our unique benefits, sign her up to a buyer agency agreement. And if it ends up being 6 to 8 months down the road, so be it. She's my client now. It's like how many of you would take a listing even though you knew that it wouldn't sell until 6 months from now, but it would sell?
Sure.
You'd take them all. So wouldn't I want Lindy as a client that's going to buy in 6 months from now?
Yeah,
I want to put her in the pipeline.
But that buyer would expect to see houses within the next 6 to 8 months.
Okay, now
Whereas
we're-
the listing
Good
is
point.
listed.
But they won't, because I'm going to, and let's just take it. We get face to face and Lindy says, I really want to go shopping the market. Now I'm face to face with Lindy. I can counsel her and I can lead her to her own conclusions. Lindy, I'm happy to show you property. You mentioned that you're probably not going to be looking to acquire a property for 6 to 8 months. Anything that I show you now, probably, what do you think? Will it still be available or not be available?
Probably not.
And if you really, my concern is, and I always like to use my concern is. I use that a lot because it tells me that I'm concerned about them. My concern with going out and looking at property now is that we find something that you really get your hopes up for, and then we're not in a position for me to help you secure it. Because do you think the sellers are going to be open to a 6, 8 month closing date or possession date?
Probably not. Starting at the top again. Are you working with a realtor? And I say yes.
Did you sign a buyer agency agreement with that broker?
What's a buyer agency agreement?
It's an agreement between you and the realtor that you agree to work exclusively with that person.
Well, gee, do I have to sign something like that?
You don't have to. My question is, if you're working with someone, did you sign something like that with them?
No, I know them pretty good.
Okay, so do you feel obligated to continue working with
Well,
them?
they've showed me a few homes and they keep sending me listings.
Okay. Would you be open to letting me show you some homes? If I was aware of some properties that they didn't show you, would that be
Well,
okay?
Sure you can, but I think you're probably just duplicating what they're doing.
Well, then nothing's falling through the cracks, right?
Good answer.
So if nothing's falling through the, I just want an opportunity for Lindy to meet with me.
So you'd still go through the...
Absolutely, and then when I get face to face with them, oh, you mean they're not representing you? Oh, I would turn that into a big can of worms. So if they're not representing you, Lindy, who do they represent? Seller. Oh, so they're showing you all these properties and they're negotiating for whom? The seller.
Yeah.
So then I would turn that out. Do you want somebody to represent the seller, or do you want
The
somebody to
big
represent
dirty
you?
lie that they didn't tell you.
Yeah.
Now, just a minute here. When she said that I have another agent that's showing me properties, you didn't get into the foreclosures.
No, if you follow it verbatim, she says she's working with somebody. The next question is, do you feel obligated to that agent? Because most people say, no, I don't feel obligated. In fact, she said, no, I don't, because if I find something, I'm going to buy it, is essentially what every buyer will say. And then I would go through. The foreclosures comes under 9. The reason this is set up the way that it is most of the time, guys, you don't have to go beyond A. 7 out of 10 times, this is it. 1 out of 10, out of the 8th one, you go there and you got them.
James, what kind of a buyer do you want to be? Do you want to be a first-time buyer, a move-up buyer? And how do we secure your lead? How do we generate your lead? Are you a sign call?
First-time buyer, 0 down.
You call it a 0 down ad?
Okay. So you're calling in. I'm either at the office or we call you back. But I'm Brian. You're James.
Yep.
Which property were you calling on?
I didn't call on a property. I just seen your little 0 down ad, and we were interested in buying a home instead of paying rent.
Oh, good for you. Are you working with a realtor now, Jim?
No, this is the first ad that we've called off of.
Okay, great. Have you been looking at property, or have you seen or circled anything that is of interest to you in the newspapers?
Nope, nothing at all.
All right, so just you're interested in purchasing a home with 0 down. Great. When would be a good time to get together with you?
Well, why would we have to do that?
So that I can show you how to buy a property with 0 down.
Okay, well, couldn't I just talk to my bank?
I don't know if your bank offers 0 down programs. It's a unique program that we have here at our office, and there's a little bit involved in it, and we want to make sure not only do we get you the lowest down payment, but we also save you money in closing costs. To do that, we just need a few minutes to kind of go over the specifics of it, and at the same time at our office, once we know what price range you're looking for, what towns are of interest to you, and what's important to you in a home, we can give you a free list of all of the homes that match your criteria. So we can kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone. When would be a good time to get together?
Well, I don't really know. We're just kind of interested in finding out all about what's about going down to buy a home with 0 down.
Okay.
We're just not sure on anything yet.
Well, then it sounds like getting together and just chatting for a few minutes probably would be beneficial to you guys. Are days or evenings better for you?
Probably evenings would be better for sure.
Okay. And are you doing this by yourself or with a spouse? Or
With my girlfriend.
with your girlfriend? Great. And what's her name?
Jill.
Jill, okay. Do you want to put something in your calendar for this week, or would next week be better?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, because a lot of times we get the 0 down, and they're always, they're not very motivated to do it. They just want to know how they can do it with 0 down.
And that was a good
I
one.
think they are
They just wanna
motivated.
know over
Yeah.
the phone.
I think they want to lead you to believe that they're not motivated.
And like the way he
because
puts
how many
it,
of them
yeah.
a week or 2 later do you
Yeah.
call and they buy?
Yeah, a lot, because he motivated you to come in.
That was a good call. It was real easy for me. You want to go for the appointment as soon as you possibly can.
Okay, well here's a good example. My wife and I are in the process now of buying her a new car. Do I go into the dealership acting all motivated and that I'm
Just
really,
looking.
Yeah, really pumped to buy a car today? No, I don't do that, right? I don't tip off the salesperson that I absolutely want to buy this particular car. I don't walk in and go, wow, I have to have this, do I?
No.
What do I say to the salesperson? What do I try to lead the salesperson to
I
believe?
don't need to buy.
I don't need to
I gotta
buy,
get a
I'm just
deal.
looking.
I'm just
Matter of fact,
looking.
I'm looking at many different brands.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I'm gonna buy a car. I don't know what I'm gonna buy a car. I don't know what type I'm gonna buy. I don't know when I'm gonna buy. There's no urgency. He's gonna have to really offer me a great deal to get me excited because I'm not gonna be outward excitable.
Now, if you get into the qualifying questions after we set up the
Right.
appointment on that, and you basically ask me, well, I make $16,000 and my girlfriend works part-time, makes $85,000,
And you really have 0 money.
and really have 0
And
down.
your credit's the pits.
Well, no, the credit might even be good, but
Okay.
you really have 0 down. What do you?
I will have you
Yeah.
call my lender. It sounds like you may have a unique situation.
Yeah.
Why don't I have you call my lender before we get together so that you can run through his financing programs so that we can, kind of expedite
When
the
have you asked him these
process.
financing questions after you book
After
the appointment?
booking
After the
Okay,
appointment's
so
booked.
you just booked the appointment with him
And now
it's for Tuesday evening.
Yep.
And now what do you say?
So that I can prepare for our appointment. So,
I was looking at the wrong page in my teacher.
no, so that I can prepare for our appointment and getting everything ready for you, let me ask you, how much cash do you have available for down payment and closing costs?
Well, we have nothing. That's why we call them the 0
No
down
problem.
report.
How about closing costs? Do you have any money for closing costs?
No, not really. We really have no money down.
So you need a no money down plus a no closing cost down.
Yeah, well, we might be able
Alright.
to save up some money. It would all depend on how much the closing costs are.
Yeah, so I probably don't want, then, I'd ask the next questions, you're renting,
Yeah.
how's your credit,
Yeah, no, our credit is fine.
okay? How soon are you hoping to move,
Well, we'd like to stop paying rent as soon as possible, for sure.
okay? Why don't we do this? It sounds like you might have some issues with no money for closing costs,
Yeah.
but call my lender and see what they can do for you, and, we'll put the appointment on hold, and we'll get back in touch next week. Wally, one of my best agents, would meet with everybody, sign them up to a buyer agreement, and collect the $295. Good credit, bad credit, no credit, doesn't matter. Why would he do that?
Because they're all gonna be buyers someday.
They're all going to be buyers someday, and Wally's philosophy was a good one. He said, look, they're going to be a buyer someday, but they're going to buy sooner with my knowledge and counsel than if I didn't do anything with them, and for that I am worth $300. I think that's a good way to look at ourselves. They're going to come in, we're going to educate them, we're going to put them on a tract, and for that tract they're going to retain our services.
If we don't believe there's any perceived value in our service, how the hell are we
That's
ever
right.
gonna
And
relate it to them?
That's what today's meeting's about, is to get it between our ears, that if we're worth it on the seller side, we're certainly worth it on the buyer side, because we do as much or
Even
more.
if they didn't buy for 2 years, they're gonna call him first, cause he's got my $300.
Exactly.
And you'll always credit that
You'll always
$300
credit them.
towards the purchase.
It's actually credited towards a transaction fee. So it's in addition to our commission.
Okay,
So
so
you're
you put it in the
keeping that
trust account or the
$300 no matter
general
what.
account?
And it's earned when paid. If they don't buy a house, do they get it back? No.
Okay.
And Wally's got some great dialogues. These guys are doing it day in and day out.
So if they buy a house in a year and a half, that $300 is still yours plus your 3.5%.
That's correct.
commission.
Let's look at it this way. There's three types of buyers. There's the buyers that we know, no problems, right?
The
No
ones
problems.
We don't need any lessons or
Yeah, we don't. Yeah,
I want
the
to have
Heralds.
today.
Yeah, he's got $100,000, good credit, good job. We don't need to go down that road with him. We know he's going to get financing. There's the buyers that are kind of iffy, shaky, we're not sure. And then there's the buyers that are just, we know that they're never going to get into a house. We know that, talking to them on the phone. In this situation, I would give you the name of the lender and put the onus on you to call the lender. Because maybe you'll call them, maybe you won't. It really doesn't matter.
It's a major hoop you on purpose want to
Eliminate,
impose
right,
upon them.
right. In this situation, I'm going to have my lender call them because I don't know enough about the financing to make that judgment. The lender will get involved and see if they can uncover something. It's your decision. If you want this buyer to meet with you, there is no reason that they shouldn't meet with you. You've got A, B, C, and D I forgot about. And the reason, as hard as you guys are, we never went to D. Look way down at the bottom of the call. I'm getting nowhere. Number 12. Number 12. I just cannot get the appointment. So far I've got an appointment with Harold. So far I have an appointment with you. I have an appointment with Lindy, and I have an appointment with Jim. And I didn't have to go to number 12. But that just goes to show you that if we want the appointment bad enough, here's another what's in it for me. If I've struck out A, B, and C, 3 strikes you're out, I would say this. I would say, well, thanks for calling. Basically, I've gotten nowhere. I haven't conveyed any values to you. My name is Steve Cutter. If you'll just write my name and phone number down and today's date, if and when you're ready to start looking, I will personally pay $500 towards your closing costs just because you went through the trouble of calling me. Do you think they're going to get a pen and paper and write down your number?
$500.
It's worth $500 to me to have them call me back. Why? Because I'm getting, in order for them to buy a house, they've agreed to 3.5%. They've agreed to a transaction fee of $295 up front. I've now got a buyer that I wouldn't have had for a cost of $500.
Can't go broke making profit.
Right. So if I want an appointment, you guys have to come to the realization that you're in control, and this is the way you're going to do business, and it's going to work because how can they say no to that?
What kind of buyer do you want to be, first of all?
I'm
First
gonna
time
be
buyer or move up?
Move up.
And what did you call in under?
I'm calling in on the famous acreage properties.
Acreage
Okay.
properties, okay. This is a classified ad, acreage, 2 to 10 acres, free hot list under $275,000, free recorded message.
Okay, so you're calling in. Hi, this is Brian. How may I help you?
I'm calling in,
He's left a message.
I've left a
So
message.
I'm calling you.
You're calling him.
And it's Jim?
Yep.
Jim, this is Brian from Remax calling you back. I understand that you called for the free list of acreage properties.
Yes, I did.
I'm happy to put that together for you. Are you presently working with a realtor?
No, I'm not.
Okay, great. Have you circled or seen any other specific homes that you wanted more information on that I could provide you with?
I've seen some over the past 6-8 months that I thought were kind of nice, but I don't have any in front of me that I've circled.
Okay, Jim. Well, I appreciate you calling. At our office, we have a free computerized buyer profile list, and if we know what towns, price range, style, what's important to you in an acreage property, we can print out all of the homes that match your criteria and mail those or email those or fax those to you on a regular basis. Is that something that would interest you?
That'd be wonderful.
When would be a good time for us to get together?
What exactly would getting together do as far as accomplishing me getting the free list?
What it would do is what I found is that just spending 10 or 15 minutes with you going over what you like and don't like in a property, helps me really narrow the search, so I'm sending you the listings that most match your desired criteria.
Okay. Does timing play a part in this at all? I don't want to tie up your time right now. If
I'm happy to do it. You know, if you're interested in receiving these lists on a regular basis, we really should get together. So whatever, you know, it'll only take a few minutes.
Oh, well, if you think that'd be helpful,
Okay.
If timing isn't an issue, then that'd be all right. Yeah.
Okay, great. So we book an appointment. What's good for you? Days, evenings?
One day next week.
All right, so we've got the date. Do you know where my office is located? Great. So that I can prepare for our appointment, Jim, about how much have you put aside for a down payment and closing costs?
Well, most of my equity's tied up in the house that I currently own.
Okay, so you own a home.
Yes.
Great. How soon are you hoping to move?
Oh, probably in the next year and a half.
Year and a half? Okay, great. And have you spoken with anyone else about moving, or you're just beginning the process?
No, we're just beginning. I haven't spoken to anybody else.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get together next Tuesday, as we had mentioned, at 4:30? But would you like me to come by and meet with you at your home? I could do that if that's more convenient for you.
What would be the advantage in meeting at my home?
Just
You've already asked me to come into the office.
Just convenience, and I thought where you own a home, maybe you'd like a market evaluation to get a good idea of where your home would sell for in today's market. There's no cost for that either.
Okay, well, yeah, that might even be more convenient for me.
Okay, so I'll see you next Tuesday, and we'll get you into the unique computerized buyer profile program, and we'll start getting these listings to you on a regular basis.
That sounds good.
And I ended the call by focusing on his hot button. You know, he wants the listing, so I wanted to minimize the CMA, but at the same time kind of plant the seed.
Now, the classified ad promises to send him a free hot list of a one-time mailing of these acreage properties. So what you were saying that I thought was important is we'd be happy to send this list to you on a regular basis, on a weekly basis. But if I'm going to send this list on a weekly basis, you can see how important it is that we take the time to get together to fine-tune exactly what you're looking for.
Because it's all about the appointment. Let's not lose sight of the forest for the trees. You've got to get eyeball to eyeball with these people.
I mean, we all understand the big idea here. Let's go out there and let's try it. And I'm sure you'll have questions as you proceed with this. And just like buying or selling a house is a process, not an event, so is this. It's gonna be a process, a journey. So thanks for listening to our tape, and we're gonna wrap it up now.
Pump up the power.